Secret of Happiness. Today's talk is about will. The divine mind faculty of will. And the representative of this we use is Saul. Saul in both the book of 1 Samuel and Saul in the book of Acts and so on in the Second Testament there, because Saul became Paul later on. But Saul was the first king of the Israelites in the book of 1 Samuel. He used his will. He liked his will, and Saul, who was on his way to kill the Christians, of course, he had a will as well. And all of us have a will, and we're either using it to change the world, or we're using it to grow in spirit. And if we are too attached to the world, anybody, you know, a lot of people are trying to use their will, which is not a bad thing, but they're using it to change the world because they don't trust spirit. Anybody? They're using it, and if you go to Facebook, you will see how it's being done masterfully and really artfully and really messily to change the world, because we have our faith is far greater placed in the material and the senses than it is in the invisible. And I get it. I certainly have that issue. But let's look at it. We're here on a Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. Let's look at that. Would you like to shift your faith and use your will? Because faith is the power, our yes power. It's our mind faculty of yes. And so what are we saying yes to? Because will is carrying out what we say yes to in our lives. And a lot of us, I think, aren't aware of what we're saying yes to. And many of us, and I don't just mean in this room, I mean many of us, are saying yes to the very things we don't want, that we proclaim so very loudly, so very boldly, that what we don't want, the thoughts of it, has inhabited every cell, every tissue, every fiber of our being. It's crawling through us, in case you don't know. You know, every time you go online to say what you hate, you're actually expanding what you hate. That is metaphysical law. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. It is just that simple. Every time we go to lunch to talk about what we don't like in the world, we are expanding what we don't like. Every time you call yourself stupid, sick, poor, ignorant, lacking in advancement, every time you associate your I am with less than the magnificence of truth and wisdom, you are expanding that condition into your consciousness. It is not because you're stupid. It's because you're not paying attention. It's because I'm not paying attention when I do it. Every time I declare there is an absence of good in the world, I'm declaring there's an absence of good in me. And you got to understand that. It's not like if I got rid of that thing in the world that I hate, I would then be good, and my life would then be good. Are we clear on this? I'm misusing my will a lot of times. I'm using my will to get the thing I don't want instead of the thing I do. Because I haven't paid attention. Because I haven't been listening. Because my faith is greater in this than this. What do you see in my hand? Nothing. Exactly. And so you'd think there's nothing there. Wouldn't you? You'd think there's nothing in my hand. But here's the deal. Everything is in my hand. Absolutely everything is right here in my hand. And if you put your hand out, there you go. Now you have everything in your hand. Everything. Oh, it's heavy sometimes. And if you put it up here on your shoulder, my goodness, it just weighs us down, doesn't it? You know, and so to begin to pay attention, what if this is all your thoughts? What if what is in your hand is all of your thoughts? And you're thinking, oh, that's nothing. But then you're acting on it like it's everything. And it's so exciting to me. It's really thrilling to me to realize, oh, I could do this differently. I do have options to do this different, this living of life differently. And we keep seeking to. We read our books. You know, I'm about to take a group through the 4 agreements again. And we have our 12 steps, and we have our Wayne Dwyer, and of course I have all the Fillmore, which I know none of you are reading. What? How many of here are reading Charles Fillmore these days? I said Fillmore. Who here reads Charles Fillmore on any kind of regularity, or ever? Exactly. Exactly. You do. Lovely. See?
Ever. I've read it.
Ever in the past year. You've read Charles Fillmore in the past year? Fantastic. I love that. But nevertheless, you get my point. Who here really is interested in doing their own research to metaphysically understand the Bible? Oh, see, a couple of people here. Yay. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay, there's more than I would have thought, quite frankly. But I'm thrilled. Because, you see, with that, now it's suddenly expanded into a desire to understand. And again, if the goal is just to change the world, my goodness, you have small goals. If I just want to change the goal, or my world, if it's just so I get a nicer car, or a nicer house, or a nicer and a new pair of shoes, or if it's just about a presidential candidate, it's too small. My desire is way too small. And if I'm just trying to get people to change or be different or evaporate, quite frankly, because I think, some people identify, don't you? If they just go away, then I wouldn't have to feel this way. And that's what I hate about some of these people in the world. They're showing me what I've been thinking. And I hate it that they show me the ugliness that I had been thinking. I just hate it. Oh, that mirror's mean. Oh, that mirror is vicious. Until I can look in the mirror and say, okay, so that's what I've been thinking. Would I like to think differently? And sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes the answer is no, and so therefore that mirror's going to stay just like it is. Distorted, peculiar, and mean. Like a fun house that's not very fun. And so, divine will. You hear me? Divine will. We are given this mind faculty, this seat of intelligence in us. We have 12 of them. And right now we're really focusing on the will today. I'm going to read something. This is metaphysical interpretation of will. Now here's how we're connected. This is one of the ways we're connected. Right now I am about to read a paragraph from a book called The Book of Life, Volume 1, the Old Testament, by Reverend Greg Nettler. 2 of our members, Teresa Kriske and John Valentine, are at Greg Nettler's church this morning. It's the very first Unity Church on Tracy Street in Unity Village. So look at that. We're all connected in peculiar ways. But anyway, it just occurred to me, and I like it. Saul represents the action of the will within us. When the will is in harmony with the divine, its action is good and constructive. We may accomplish great things when we are able to look to divine guidance and say, not my will, but thine be done. With humility. With humility. With humility. He only wrote it once. A great deal can be accomplished. With humility, a great deal can be accomplished. Who remembers what I say humility is? Besides David. Anybody else here remember? Fine, David, what do I say?
Expecting God's best.
Exactly. True humility is expecting God's best. And sometimes I don't want God's best to be this if it's not what I want. I don't want God's will if it means I have to quit smoking, quit drinking, I quit eating candy. If it means the end of this relationship and the beginning of a new one, if it means this, or if it means this, or, this one gets elected and this one doesn't, if it means this, I don't want God's will. If that's God's best, I don't want it. And that's when we take personal will back and try to fight against divine guidance. Anyway, when we use the will to attain personal desires, we cut ourselves off from the divine impulse. We become willful. We disconnect our sense of I am from divine ideas and connect with the things in the personal consciousness and the things of the outer world. This starts a decline in consciousness, which ends in loss, disappointment, and defeats. Now, by saying thy will be done, not mine, is not a passive thing. It's not that I'm going to just go watch TV until whatever that will is. I hope it's a good one. That's not what it means at all. It means you listen to that divine guidance and you show up where you ought to show up, leaving the results to the invisible presence of love. And not only just leaving, expecting the best result. Even though you can't for the life of you see how this path could be the best path to love, light, wisdom, truth, peace, joy. I'll spit all over you. It's I'm so excited I'm spitting. And it's divine that I can okay, here's the best one I can think of at the moment. When I left high school, if you'd have told me that the journey I was about to go on would be the best path for me to get to love, light, wisdom, and truth, and so just surrender to becoming an alcoholic, Shawn. It will be the best thing for you, for your attitudes. If you'd have told me back then, I'd have said, no, that would be awful. That would just be awful. And let me tell you something, at times it was. At times it was so incredibly hard. But then I began a journey of wellness. After lots of years of experience of unwellness, I began a journey of wellness because I saw a light, a path, whatever. I heard a voice, I don't know, but LaToya Jackson's psychic hotline on the last night I drank. $85 later, I came to AA, is how I like to put it. And believe me, I was looking for things of the world through LaToya. And I kept hearing through 4 different psychics, you will find love down this path. That's not what I was looking for. That at least not in my sense consciousness. So, the next day, I started on a healing path. That was 23 years ago. I started on this healing path that was crazy and hard. Most of all, uncomfortable. Uncomfortable to be in my skin. Someday, I didn't think I would drink again, but I did think my head might explode on some days. I thought my body might implode on itself. It didn't occur to me I would touch a substance, but I didn't know how I was going to get through certain days. Certain days, I remember when I was counting days, I had 19 days. I was at a meeting, and somebody said they had 58 days, and I thought, I will never make it. I will drop dead before I get to 58 days because it's just too hard. And, well, here we are together. But then something shifted, and it was like, oh, but I want this. Look, when I pray, my life is different. I have wisdom I didn't know about. When I prayed differently, my life was better, even though the world around me wasn't. When I got down on my knees and I surrendered my will and my life over to the God as I understood it at that time, but because I knew that surrender was far better than anything I could imagine at the time. And then stuff came up, and some relationships got better and some imploded. The person who brought me to unity, over 20 years ago, later on asked me never to speak to him again. And to this day would pass me in the street with, please don't speak to me. It's impressive. I mean, things go up and they go down, but it doesn't matter. Look at the gift he gave me. He gave me this. He gave me you guys. I expect the best. Sometimes. Even when I'm going to walk into a situation that I don't know how it's going to turn out. Could you? Do you? How often do you walk into situations that you don't know how they're going to turn out? I'm willing to bet you walk into the grocery store on a regular basis having no idea how that experience is going to turn out. We walk into restaurants, public events, and we all know some of those turn out very differently than we expected. I can't call them bad. Is that God's best? You know, where somebody comes in shooting. Is that God's best? How could that be God's best? I don't know. But would my will be willing to align with the will of God? I was taught the will of God for me is to be happy, joyous, and free. Happy, joyous, and free, even in the face of such pain, such destruction, such upset. Happy, it doesn't say gleeful, joyous, and free. It says happy, joyous, and free. Would I be willing in the face of pain to know God? Would I desire to know God? Some of you have heard Reverend Carlos Anderson's story of when a group in his church, he was a child at the time, he was a teenage boy, and there was a group, these grandparents had taken over 5 grandchildren. They took them in and they were raising 5 grandchildren. And there was a field trip. And this was an African American community, this church. And there was a field trip. And the bus, and there was a drunk driver, a white drunk driver who hit the bus, killed the bus driver and all 5 of those children. Well, there was an upset in that community because then there's now all of a sudden there's a separation between race. And all the families are there in that church. And there's 5 caskets on stage that the community raised the money to buy for these children. And the grandparents not there. They're all waiting. And Carlos said, people said, you know, this white guy over in jail, we gotta get him. And they're bad and everything. Killed our people. And then finally the grandparents got there. And they went up on the pulpit. And they touched each of the caskets. And then they came down in front. And they said, we want to talk to you guys. And they said, we're late because we've been praying. Because we want to know God in this. And we do know God in this, even though we don't know the answers. But we know our children. They're okay. But there's a man in a jail cell that needs our help. And it's the only way we're all going to be set free, is to set him free. And it's like, oh, are you going to set free the people who have hurt you? The people who you don't like yourself when you look at them? Am I going to set those people free? Whoever they are. The people that when I look at them, I hate myself. The people who remind me of how angry I am and how poor I feel and how alone I've made myself. Am I going to use my will to align with what I believe in my heart is what God is? Presence, power, truth, wisdom, love, and light. I'm going to read one more thing here. It comes from the book of Acts, the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the New Testament. It's chapter 22. It's Holy Spirit speaking. It says that the third stage on the path with me is the stage of guidance of service. This is the time when the merging will occur. For through your willingness, I will willingly work my will through you. Before this stage, 2 things must occur: the loosening and letting go. Throughout this stage, 2 things must occur: continued continued loosening and letting go. For loosening and letting go are the path to healing. They must continue until you know you are healed. Loosening and letting go of what you think this is, of what I think this is. Loosening and letting go so that I may expect the best. When you reach the third phase of the path, enough loosening and letting go has been accomplished to enable you to be willing to see. Sight is acceptance and surrender to me, so it is to willingness to put self-will aside. During the third stage with me, you will know my presence, for your faith will open your eyes to me. You will know you are led and cared for, and you will surrender more self-will to me, meaning Holy Spirit. Me, meaning wisdom. Me, meaning peace and joy. And so Kenneth sang of the secret to happiness earlier. You know, that secret to joy, to wisdom, and to the living of life. The secret is in the loosening and the letting go. And I think every one of us today could find something of our resistance and put that resistance down. Something, anything, to the weather, to how we feel. Because could it be that even in our discomfort, we could relax, let go, know that we are loved, and enjoy the day. Thank you.